in the last 20 years, something unprecedented happened. A war between governments and big tech, like Amazon, like Apple, like Google. It's a new battlefield that's emerging, and that is called lawmakers. You know what they're worried about? They're worried that Chinese government can influence information flows, and that is massive. They don't want that happening in the US. Governments used to control nations, but today they're controlling technology companies. If you want to venture out of this video, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. For most of modern history, you know who power belonged to? Governments, right? If you controlled the military and you controlled its laws and the borders, you controlled what? The society. They call it the sheeple. But today, in the last 20 years, something unprecedented happened. A handful of technology companies, and the major ones, you know which ones I'm going to name, they began controlling even more powerful things than territory. You know what it's called? Information. Companies like Google, Apple, Meta, Amazon, and of course TikTok, they influence what billions of people see, including you. They believe, they buy, and they vote. Governments around the world, they started to realize something very important, that it's uncomfortable for them. They're no longer the only ones in power. So behind the scenes, a quiet war is being fought. A war between governments and big tech, like Amazon, like Apple, like Google, and many other social media platforms. If you want to understand this conflict, you know what you need to understand first? You need to understand fundamentals of power in 21st century. And it's no longer just a land or armies. You know what it's about? It's about data and influence. Think about Google. Google is processing about 8.5 billion searches every single day. So you are one of those searches. If you're searching something, Google is taking track of every single data that's going in and that's going out. Meta platforms, right? Facebook, Zuckerberg, Instagram, and WhatsApp. You know how much they reach? They reach about 3 billion people every single day. YouTube alone influences culture, politics, and information all over the world. These companies can shape your narrative faster than the government can respond. So that's why there's a war being fought against these technology companies. For the first time in history, private companies control the largest communication infrastructure on earth. And this is something so important that the governments are taking notice. They're asking very uncomfortable questions. Who is really in charge? Are they really in charge? Or these massive trillion-dollar companies are in charge? I mean, think about it for a second. You do something every single day on your social media platform, and who can see them? It's not the government. It's the social media platform. It's those big tech companies. It's Jeff Bezos on Amazon, and it's Mark Zuckerberg throughout the Meta platform. Something so critical is not important. Why would the government take notice? Government is taking notice because they can control what you can see, what you can like, what you can dislike, and what you can possibly vote for. That's how they speculate the upcoming elections. If you think about midterms, they already know the answers. As big tech grows, governments around the world, you know what they started to do? They started to reassert control, because control is the most important thing for governments. And one of the biggest battlegrounds is what? Regulation. That's how they control these companies. Let's look at some major examples. Look at this. In 2018, the European Union introduced the GDPR, one of the strictest data privacy laws ever created in the world. Under that GDPR, companies can be fined up to 4% of their global revenue. For what? For misleading their user data. Google alone has been fined billions of dollars by the European regulators. The European Union didn't stop there. You know what they did? They introduced the Digital Markets Act, assigned to specifically limit the power of companies like Apple, Google, and your favorite one, Amazon. You know what those laws force? They force these companies to allow competing apps on their platforms. You know what else they do? They stop favoring their own services. How terrible is that? They also share certain data with competitors. In other words, Europe is trying to prevent tech companies from becoming all the things they've been trying to do. They prevent them from becoming digital monopolies. This is like going back to the 1900s with J.D. Rockefeller trying to monopolize the entire oil industry. The government has become to push back. The Department of Justice has launched a massive antitrust lawsuit against Google. You know why? You know what's the accusation? The accusation is that Google illegally maintains dominance over search engines. Dominance over search by paying billions of dollars to companies like Apple to remain their default search engine. Can you believe that for a second? Some lawmakers have even suggested that breaking up major tech companies would be the best idea. But not every government is negotiating with big tech. Some governments decided something simpler. Control the internet entirely. And you exactly know who I'm talking about. That's the biggest country in the world, China. China built what's known as the Great Firewall. Instead of allowing companies like Google, Facebook, and Twitter to dominate their information space, you know what they did? Well, you can't guess. China banned them. And then something interesting happened. Chinese tech companies filled the vacuum. Of course they had to. Google equals to Baidu. Facebook equals to WeChat. Amazon, your very favorite one, Alibaba. And YouTube is called Youku China. Essentially, they created their own parallel internet ecosystem. But it didn't stop there. Chinese law requires technology companies to share certain data with the government. You know when? When requested. And you know when they request? Every single time. Nowhere in this government, tech conflict is more visible than the fight over TikTok. We've been hearing about this forever. TikTok is owned by a Chinese company, ByteDance, right? And it has over 1 billion users globally. But government in the United States and Europe has been increasingly concerned. And the question arises, why? Why are they concerned? You know why? Because TikTok controls an incredibly powerful algorithm that decides what millions of people see and possibly decide every single day. Lawmakers, you know what they're worried about? They're worried that Chinese government can influence information flows. And that is massive. They don't want that happening in the US. It's a new battlefield that's emerging, and that is called artificial intelligence, something I've been talking about forever. Governments around the world, you know what they understand? That AI could become the most powerful technology ever created in the history of the world. It can influence economies. It can shape warfare. It can control information. It can automate entire industries, which is why the governments are moving very quickly to do what? To regulate it. So what we're watching unfold is not a takeover. It's a negotiation of power, a balancing between governments and technology companies. And you know what it's going to do? It's going to shape the entire future of internet. Not only internet, but also politics and even democracy itself. You're standing in the middle of a global power struggle between governments and the companies that built the digital world. And that silent war is only just the beginning. If you want to venture out this video, please like, subscribe, comment, and share.